Welcome to This Endorian Life, a nostalgic podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Steve Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and we're settling in for some vintage Saturday morning cartoons.
Today, we are discussing the third episode of Jeannie, the animated series, The Great Ski Robbery. It's up for debate, which aired on CBS September 12th, 1973.
September 22nd.
September 22nd, because I can read numbers correctly.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you.
1973.
That's it. Yep. 10 years before either one of us were to show up on this earth.
10 years, so yeah. A whole
this predates
10
us.
Years.
I feel like, not to jump too far ahead, but I would maybe put this in the same category as like Fred and Barney Meet the Thing. It's the same sort of like innocuous, like, yeah, that's the old Hanna-Barbera formula. The look, the sounds, it's all there.
It is. Yeah. And adding a random character in that's
yes
completely innocuous. And
as I was watching this, okay, so theoretically, this is a spin-off of I Dream of Jeannie, which starred Larry Hagman and Barbara Eden. Barbara Eden, of course, played Jeannie. But unlike some of the other shows we watch where it's like we have the same characters, but we have a totally different premise, this time we have essentially the same premise with different characters. So I wasn't quite sure what the reason for that was. And I wonder, like, I'm thinking about the Gilligan's Islands cartoon where Ginger has like a platinum blonde haircut instead of like the red hair that Tina Louise had. And it was to avoid like infringing on, like not getting the likeness for that character. And Jeannie in this is the opposite. She has red hair instead of blonde. And I wonder if they were like, we don't want to pay Barbara Eden, either to do the voice or to license her image. So we're just going to like do our own thing. Whatever it is, it's a weird move, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny that the it felt like I think they gave it away like twice. They said it in the episode that they were earning money for college tuition.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, so I guess this is technically a prequel to the show, right? Because I feel like I remember in the show, isn't he in the Air Force or
NASA, they're in the NASA. They're in the Air Force. Yeah, Major Healy and Major Nelson. But these are not those characters. They're not the same characters at all.
These aren't even the characters. Yeah,
no, so it's not a young Major Nelson or whatever.
So that's what I was thinking. I was just like, wait, Corey. I was like, I don't remember.
That doesn't
Corey.
feel right.
I don't feel like I remember his name.
No, I mean, I think
like Lieutenant Corey. Yeah,
it's just guy finds a genie in a bottle on a beach, and that's
surfing.
That's the only connection. So I thought that was weird. Were you a fan of I Dream of Jeannie? Did you watch it?
I watched it. Yeah, I didn't watch it like religiously or anything.
Oh, I sure did.
Some of the stuff that was some of the stuff that I was introduced to when I was young.
This was in heavy rotation on Nick at Night when I was younger.
Yes,
and I watched this like a soap opera. I mean, I was like, what's going to happen next? Like, I was very hooked.
Oh, no way.
Oh, yeah. There's a 3-episode arc of the original where Jeannie and Major Nelson get separated, and Jeannie ends up locked in a trunk. And she's in the trunk for so long that it becomes her bottle. So now whoever opens the trunk, it's the same as rubbing Aladdin's lamp or opening the bottle. So there was a whole, like, is Roger going to get there first? Is Dr. Bellows, is Major Nelson? Man, so I was like riveted. So as I was watching this, I was thinking, do you remember Jeannie's evil twin sister?
I feel like I would if I saw her.
Well, it's Barbara Eden, but with a black wig. So they're both called Jeannie. Yeah. So she would show up sometimes. They're both Jeannie. She would show up sometime and just sort of wreak havoc. And it was sort of like the two of them. I was thinking it would have been cool if the cartoon was about the evil sister and have Jeannie be not like an evil antagonist, but just sort of like she's messing with the guys and everything. I feel like that could have been a really interesting spin.
Because she did do that in this. That's actually part of my. That's part of my.
Yeah, she does mess with them a little bit.
Chihuahua. That they keep that aspect of her that she does mess with people. She's kind of cunning in that way and tricksy, I guess the term.
Yeah.
Innocently tricksy to create the plot or to continue the plot.
In a way, this
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense to me because you want younger kids and everything. You don't want to like mess with the storyline of I Dream of Jeannie, I guess. And it's just sort of like, hey,
Yeah.
the premise worked in live action. This would be a great kid show. So I sort of get it, but I don't think that this was aimed at fans of I Dream of Jeannie. Which
It
again,
doesn't feel like it.
why
Yeah.
why bother? But who knows? All right, let me continue here. So the series ran for one 16 episode run, all in 1973. Babu would feature sort of regularly on the Scooby Doo Laugh Olympics, which was all of the Hanna-Barbera characters would get together and do like Olympic feats. It was a weird show, but Babu was sort
Oh.
of a regular on that as well. And then the whole gang would reunite for an episode of the new Scooby Doo movies where the Scooby Gang teams up with Jeannie and Corey and all that. So the
Oh,
series, I don't
nice.
think really had a lasting place. And as far as I could tell, it's never been released on DVD. And I sure didn't see it streaming on any of the places that you would find other Hanna-Barbera things. So
Huh.
I think it's kind of a forgotten little corner in the Hanna-Barbera world. It was developed by Sidney Morse and directed by Charles August Nichols. Let's get into the
Hmm.
cast.
Yeah.
Julie McWhirter replaces Barbara Eden as Jeannie, and she was definitely doing a Barbara Eden impression, I would say.
Yes.
Like the mannerisms and the turns of phrase and everything, clearly speech
But
pattern on like what. Yes, Steve, you
but
have thoughts?
so I mean, that's part of my oak of arc. She tried. I think
Yes,
Barbara Eden has a cadence to her
yeah,
character that is smooth in the way that she talks, and I think she tries to do it, but it ends up sounding robotic,
right,
and it bothered me that I was like, I would listen to her voice. I'm like, what is she trying to do?
yeah,
And I was like, this sounds similar to Barbara Eden. I was just like, she's trying to do
yeah,
Barbara Eden. I had to go back and like look at a clip. I was like, she's trying to do this. And then I heard the way Barbara Eden talked, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's trying to do
yeah.
this, but it's coming out wrong. Like
Hmm.
Barbara Eden just has a unique cadence. When you hear it, when you
Well,
hear the
yeah,
cadence, people
well,
listening, believe me, when you hear it, you'll be like, oh, that's what
yeah.
she's trying to do, but she can't quite do it.
Well, it reminded me of how other like Marina Sirtis on Next Gen, has a certain accent that she does for Deanna as a Betazoid,
Yes.
and other people come on, and some like Loxana don't even try, and others try to sort of
Yeah.
mimic the accent that Deanna is doing, and they can't do it, and that was kind of what this
Can't do
was
it.
like. Like clearly there
Yeah.
was an attempt made, and maybe if you didn't know, it would be okay. I don't know. But she has voiced a lot of other things. She was Wilma on the Flintstone Kids, which I
Oh,
love, and
yeah,
she voiced Baby
done a
Smurf
lot.
on the Smurfs and lots of other things. Um, Joe Besser voices Babu, and he is best known for his work as one of the Three Stooges. So after,
Yes.
let me try to get the order right. Originally, we have Larry, Moe, and Shemp. And then Shemp goes
Mhm.
away, and Curly comes in. Then it's Larry, Moe, and Curly, which
Early.
is the classic setup. And then Curly has to go out, and Shemp comes back. And then we
Yep.
have Larry, Moe, Shemp. And then Shemp dies, and they pull in Joe Besser, who becomes
Yeah,
the new
different Curly.
Stooge. So Larry, Curly, and Joe. And then when Joe Besser
Oh, Joe,
leaves,
that's right, yeah.
yeah, Joe Besser leaves, and Joe Dorita comes in, and he is Curly Joe. So then it's Larry, Moe, Curly Joe.
Moe, Larry, and Joe.
Yeah, Curly Joe. But this was
I
was
forgot about
Joe.
Joe, yeah.
This was the one. He wasn't in the movies. He was just in the end of the Stooge shorts, post Shemp,
Yeah.
pre Curly Joe. So there you go. If you're if you're curious
I
about the
remember Joe
Stooges,
because Joe was the one that always confused me, and I was like, that's like as a kid, I was like, no,
yeah,
that's supposed to be Curly, and they're calling him
right,
Joe. I was like,
right,
weird. Like as a
yeah.
kid, that didn't it
Well,
didn't make sense to me, and I was like, well, he looks kind of different too. I don't
yeah.
get it, you know.
And it's confusing when he leaves and the new guy's name is also Joe and they call him Curly
Joe.
Joe and it's just like
Yes.
guys.
You're
Anyway,
like, oh my
he's
gosh.
Babu, and I know we're already sort of touching on Oak of Arc moments, but oh my word,
Oh no. Oh,
Babu! Oh my
brutal.
gosh, you shut up.
Yeah.
And so he is played as like it says he's like a junior genie or something, but he's just played as like a schlubby middle-aged man with childlike
Yeah.
mannerisms, probably harkening back to his Stooge era. And I was just thinking, if that character with the exact same lines was like a cat or like some magic imp or something like that, it might have worked. But to just have this
Yeah.
like big
A
bumbling
genie
idiot,
pet almost?
yeah, right, yeah,
Yeah, I agree, that's a
I didn't,
great point, yeah. The
yeah,
fact that it was like an 800-pound,
right,
like
right, like comically big, yeah.
yeah,
If it would have been
comically,
something
but
like
he was huge, yeah.
picture like the Great Gazoo in the Flintstones, just kind of fluttering around.
Yeah.
That might have been funny, but anyway. And then we have Bob Hastings as Henry Glop, and he would voice Commissioner Gordon in the DC animated universe much, much later.
Oh, no
Are
way.
you? I want to know
Oh.
if you don't look ahead. I want to know if you know what our Star Wars link is going to be.
I do, I heard it
Okay, all right,
immediately, and I
okay,
had to look
okay.
it
I
up, I
thought
was like,
so. All right,
"Whoa!" And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh," that
yeah,
really because I forget, sometimes I forget
yeah,
that we have a Star Wars link, and
yeah,
it was like, first sentence,
yeah.
I
First
paused,
word.
and I was
I
like, "No
figured.
way.
I
No
figured. All right.
way."
Here it is.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill plays Corey Anders, taking on the master role played by Larry Hagman's Major Nelson. He also sings the theme song. I don't know if you caught that, but that was
Wait,
Mark
does he
Hamill.
really?
Yes, he does, singing the
No,
theme
I didn't
song.
recognize that. I recognized it when he started talking, not when he sang.
Yeah. So aside from like an odd episode of Scooby Doo, this is his first voice acting role, like his first major voice acting role. And then he sort of
Oh, wow.
didn't do it for a couple of decades until the 90s when he started picking up steam and of course voiced the Joker in Batman the Animated Series and many
Yeah.
other things. Outside of his work as a voice actor, he also played the role of Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars films.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah, he's
role.
Luke. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
Luke
I recognize
Skywalker.
that.
Yeah, do you
Yeah.
remember him? Yeah.
I do remember that, yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought that was delightful because you're right. He is so obviously Mark Hamill. He
It's so
just
obviously Mark, like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's really funny. It's really funny, and
It's
we're
funny too how his voice changed though with the Joker, right? I mean, it's
oh
like
yeah,
that
definitely.
he didn't do. You said he didn't really do anything in between, and you
No,
can
not
tell
voice
like
acting. Not really.
his voice does age. It gets a bit of distortion in it
Yeah,
by the time he becomes the Joker,
yeah,
and that's when his voice acting career was just. I
yeah.
mean, he nailed it. He nailed
No,
that character.
I felt like he was good in this, like as a voice actor.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
the
exactly. Yeah, I didn't
novelty
think
of
he was
him
bad
being
in
Mark
this.
Hamill aside, I thought that he had a nice, clear, crisp voice that you need for that, and I thought he was hitting the jokes
Yeah.
right, and I felt like he was doing a pretty good job. But yes, this is our Star Wars link, the one and only Mark Hamill.
Yeah. I thought both Corey and Henry's voices
Yeah,
matched well together.
yeah,
They didn't sound too similar. One didn't sound extremely smart, and the other one extremely dumb. When you're just like, this
yeah,
seems like an unlikely duo.
yeah,
You know, but yeah, I don't know. That just I think you're right. I think his voice he nailed it.
yeah.
He
He did,
absolutely nailed it. I
and
do
they,
think
yeah,
no, I was gonna say I do think Jeannie's her voice is good. It's she tried too
yeah.
hard to match that
Trying to force
cadence.
herself into that
You know,
box. Yeah.
she's
My
just
wife
yeah,
walked
yeah,
in while we were watching this. I watched it with my son and my niece, who were like, "Why are we watching this?" And I was like, "Just, just go along for the ride."
just yeah.
But my wife came in when they came in with their silly motorcycle, and she was like, "Why are all these shows the same? Why is there a guy who looks like that and a guy who looks like that in some weird
Yes,
vehicle?" And it's just like
and it's
Hanna
always like a
Barbera
motorcycle like that. It's
has
always
a
like a trike
style.
with a sidecar.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. Yeah, and the Corey and his pal there are sort of in the molds of Fred and Shaggy. You have like sort of the strapping,
yes,
broad chested, and then you have like the scraggly, hipster kind of friend. So
yeah,
anyway, let's get into it. Tell me about this episode, Steve.
yeah. Let's go into the uber detailed plot of Genie season only,
Mm-hmm.
episode 3, The Great Ski Robbery. Corey and Henry plan on taking a job at a ski lodge to pay for college, but intend to fool Jeannie into thinking they are going south so that she doesn't go with them. Instead of letting the sun damage her skin, she decides to part ways and report to the master of genies with Babu. Of course, that's a lie. They're
Yes.
both lying. Yes. At the ski lodge, Corey and Henry aren't faring so well. Bored and curious of how they are doing, Jeannie looks and spies on them, Realizing they aren't in the South because Corey must have taken a different job, Jeannie and Babu investigate. Corey is frustrated Jeannie shows up, but quickly uses her to get all of his work done so he can go skiing with another girl. Jeannie is angry she was fooled into washing the dishes, so she sabotages Corey's ski date by causing them to crash into snowbanks and go loop-de-loop on the ski jump. Just casually like, hey, you want to go hit the 300-meter ski jump together?
Yeah, do it. Do it.
That was so funny to me.
It's a great first date. Yeah.
Back at the lodge, Jeannie and Babu return to the kitchen and reverse the dishwork that they did for Corey. His boss discovers everything and fires both Corey and Henry. Jeannie is sorry, and so is Corey, but the problem is they still have no tuition money. And now there's 6 minutes left in the episode, so here we go. Meanwhile, two thugs discover the golden crown to be worn by the Queen of the Winter Carnival. They scheme to steal it. Jeannie checks into the lodge, posing as the Maharani of Moolah, demanding Corey as the ski instructor so he can keep his job. But Corey is mad Jeannie has tried to interfere again. Suddenly, the crown is discovered to be stolen. Jeannie pleads with Corey to go after the thieves in hopes that Mr. Friendly will give them their job back. Corey and Henry agree, but Corey demands Jeannie stay out of it. Actually, she says, "Don't help me," right? She says something like that. Don't help me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, on the hill, the thieves ski away. Corey and Henry are gaining on them, but only barely. Henry is reluctant to even catch them. I guess he's afraid. Jeannie decides not to help Corey's progress, but instead hurts the robbers' progress, therefore not technically helping Corey.
Loophole.
Clumsy Henry... Yeah, loophole, right. Clumsy Henry crashes into a rock, causing Corey to turn into a gigantic snowball. Thankfully, Corey rolls down the mountain, catching up to the robbers, absorbing them into an even bigger ball. Mr. Friendly is ecstatic the crown is returned, and the cops will soon chisel out the robbers. Grateful for Jeannie's help, Mr. Friendly offers her ski lessons with a handsome man because Corey is still frozen in the ball. Henry laughs, claiming Jeannie's given him the cold shoulder. Roll credits.
What a simpler time that their plan to pay for college was to wash dishes at the ski resort for one season.
I know. For one season, yeah.
That's
how about
that's
6 years? Yeah.
Right.
Try 20 years.
I had to laugh at that right from the beginning. But
yeah.
I thought it was funny when she offers to help with the dishes, and rather than just being like, poof, they're done, she makes a scrub brush, like slowly scrub the dishes, and I'm like, well,
yeah,
it seems like there's a more expedient way.
Later on, when she does actually help, when she offers, right, and then she's like, okay, I'll help. She just makes them disappear, and I was just like, well,
but when she's demonstrating,
are they still there, or are they just clean it? Yeah, like, did she just make them all disappear? Now they don't have like 300 plates and dishes.
Yeah.
It's like,
it was an interesting addition that she like twitches her ponytail to make magic happen.
Yeah, and it she whips it to
she whips it, and it's like bing, bing, bing. Yeah,
head thing,
right?
But it's not necessarily. It's her head. It's like her nod of her doing her powers.
Because you remember
this is she's like whipping her and her ponytail, and that's actually what activates her powers.
Because Jeannie was cross her arms and do like a nod, and that
she'd do the head nod. Yeah,
and of course Bewitched was the nose wiggle. So I guess they were just like, she needs a gimmick, and that was it. So
she needs a gimmick. I mean, it kind of worked. It just was fine. They did focus on it a lot.
They did.
You're just like, okay, the ponytail, man. Okay.
Yep. I felt like overall I was okay with this. I mean, like, I didn't love it or anything, but it was definitely the kind of thing where I saw that it was later aired in one of those like Fred Flintstone and Friends kind of shows where it was like a random episode of this, a random episode of that. I could see this being a kind of show where if this came on, I'd be like, oh, great, a Jeannie episode. Like as a kid, I think I would have enjoyed it.
In between two shows that you like, you'd be like, okay, I'll just watch this.
Yeah, it's nothing special, but it's not. Yeah, it's not particularly noteworthy, and it was a little belabored them trying to work in that robbery, and literally like the last third, maybe quarter, the last quarter of the episode, we throw in this robbery.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it is. What's episode's 20 minutes? It was like
Yeah.
I stopped it. I legit
Yeah.
stopped. I was like, whoa, how
Yeah.
long is this episode? Like I
Yeah.
thought,
Because we're
has only
introducing
like
what's a major
5 minutes
plot.
passed?
Right.
Yeah, and I thought
Yeah.
they could have set the premise of the episode in like 3 minutes,
Yeah.
or 5 minutes. Instead,
Yeah.
they had this date. What they could have done was they could have introduced like that little robber scene
Yeah.
maybe before the date.
Yep.
After they
Yep.
set the tone of like doing the dishes, just to kind of set the tone that yes, this is what the episode is about. Because then I was
Right.
like, like I said before, that was the moment I was like, wait a minute, it's the Great Ski Robbery,
Right.
not like you said, like the Great Ski Hijinks. I was just like, I thought
Right.
it said robbery, and so that's when I was like, oh yeah, it's a robbery. Wait,
I
there's
agree.
6 minutes left. What are we doing
I
here?
think they could have. I think they could have peppered it into. I was thinking the same thing. Like, just have those guys kind of skulking around, and the hotel manager being like, "What are those two
Yeah,
up to?" Or something. Just like little clues, or maybe the girl that he goes on the ski date with. She could have been part of it. You know what I mean? Like maybe she was the
yeah,
honey trap or
distracting.
something, and it's like they didn't. They
Yeah.
didn't incorporate that at all. But I think that's kind of the Scooby Doo stuff coming in. Like you need a bad guy. It can't just be fun.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like all of those
Well, the
shows.
bad
I'm
guy
trying to
can't be
think.
Corey.
Right, right.
Can't be him.
Although
Even
I
though it's
feel
kind of
like,
him.
yeah, yeah, I feel like the relationships could have carried the show without the robber element. Like Jeannie sort of
Yeah.
foiling his date and him trying to work around her, and Jeannie, like that. That could have carried the episode. We didn't need the heist,
Yeah.
but
It was a little jarring. I had to go back and rewind when there's the scene where Jeannie, she basically is like, "I'm sorry for kind of ruining your job," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry for lying or using you." I mean, that's not what they said, but that's essentially how
yeah,
that
yeah,
scene
that's what they're
ended with
doing.
them
Yep,
kind of like making good, and
yep,
then it was the two robbers. And then immediately after that was Jeannie checking in as the Maharani, and then Corey walking in to deliver his ski lessons, and he's like,
yeah,
"Whoa, hey, what? I told you." And I was just like, "Whoa, he's like really mad. Like I thought they just
yeah,
like made up like
right,
2 minutes ago." And I had to like rewind to
yeah,
like see that scene again, and I was like, "Yeah, I
yeah,
kind of did." So for me, like that's why I thought, "Wait a minute, did they mess up? Did they pull this?
yeah,
This scene feels like it should have been earlier, where he was
yeah,
still mad at her for
yeah.
interfering in
No,
his
I see
life."
that. That makes sense.
It just so it was just
But
weird
and
the the
again,
the,
the
the
whole
story.
the dynamic between like Jeannie and whoever her foil is, whether it's Major Nelson in the show or Corey in
Yeah,
this,
Major
I
Nelson,
mean,
yeah.
that was kind of that was really all you needed. So it's like I think the
It
criminal
is, yeah.
element is maybe like the Hanna-Barbera influence coming in. Like, look, Mac, we got a formula,
Like the
like
gang, the gang.
hijink, crime, solve crime, everybody
Yes.
laughs. You know what I mean? And so I feel like maybe that is where the compromise to the Hanna-Barbera like house style maybe comes in and probably hurts the episode like because of it, rather than just letting it be
I think that's
a
true.
relationship,
Yeah.
essentially letting it be a sitcom, which is I think what the premise is calling for.
Yeah, I think they could have gotten their jobs back in a more realistic
Yeah.
way rather
Yeah.
than like the robbery, right? And so
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately you're correct. I didn't even think about
Yeah.
that like really the show worked. I enjoyed it when it was just the hijinks between the both of
Yeah.
them, the good
Yeah.
and the bad. And all of a sudden it was a crime, and it's just like, okay, well now,
Yeah.
well, I guess not everything did go well, right? Because Corey did turn into a big snowball,
He
but
did.
it wasn't, it was no longer, a funny thing happened to progress the story in a positive way that wasn't Jeannie, which
Yeah.
to me, I was just like, oh, like you have the
Oh,
genie, so you eliminate chance. That's
right.
the whole premise of the show, that there
Yeah.
is nothing by
True.
chance, which is
True.
why. And I loved this little instance. This probably should have been my Ichiwawa, when Henry was like, Genie probably knows where we are, and they hit a pothole, and he like flies up and
Yeah.
sits back down in the thing. He's like, oh, she knows, because
Yeah.
a weird thing happened, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's happened. Nothing in core in Major Nelson's world happened by chance, because it
Right.
was always Genie
Yeah.
doing it. And so
Yeah.
all of a sudden they introduced Chance at the very end of the episode, like, oh yeah, he just happened to turn. What Henry ran into the rock. They were both like,
Yeah.
look out, and Henry turns into the rock or runs into the rock, and then Corey somehow turns into a snowball. I guess he hit the
Yeah.
rock, and then just
Yeah.
we don't actually see it. But yeah, so I was just like, oh well,
Well, I think the
Jeannie
X
could have
factor
done something
there,
then.
yeah. But Jeannie also could rescue him, or she could get him out of the snowball, and she chooses not to. So
And she
that's where.
chose not to. Yeah,
So I mean,
there
that's
is
kind
that.
of a
Yeah.
funny, and that actually is my Ichiwawa. So let's get into it.
Oh
There's a
yeah, yeah.
couple of times in this episode where Jeannie, gets her way. She leaves him in the snowball.
Yeah.
She undoes the dishes. She figures out that he's tricking her, and she, like exacts revenge and everything. And while that did happen in I Dream of Jeannie, I felt like this iteration she was a little bit more equal. Like she was a little bit more cunning maybe than
Yeah.
the Barbara Eden version was, and I felt like that worked a little bit better for the story. So Jeannie getting the upper hand throughout the episode, I felt like was yeah, that's my Ichiwawa moment. What's yours?
That's pretty much almost the same thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was, I agreed that, like, or not agreed. I pointed out in my Ichiwama that her voice. I felt like her voice, what she has a nice voice. The voice
Yeah.
actress is good. I
Yeah.
thought her emulation was terrible, but
Yeah.
they were true to her. I felt like the I couldn't figure out the right word, so I wrote cunning.
No, I
The
think that's
cunning
right.
stayed the same.
Yeah.
Where like Jeannie has that kind of like that aura of like bubbly airheadiness, but she uses that in the show to kind of fool men. I remember a scene when I was a kid because it was so confusing to me at the time, and I didn't really get it until the scene was done. I can't even remember what the episode was about. They were like looking for diamonds, or she like pours rocks out onto
Okay.
the table, and the guy sees them as diamonds, but they're just
Okay.
like rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And she's fooling him into like handing back some totem or something like that, or
Yeah.
some
Okay.
like
That sounds. I
amulet or
mean, that
something. I
sounds
can't remember.
right. Yeah.
And so that reminded me. I was like, that's her. So they get her like, oh, you're gonna do that to me? I'm just gonna undo the dishes and ruin your life. Like, there's that aspect of she uses her powers to help people, but she can also use her powers to trick people, and she kind of tricks people in either funny ways, somewhat good ways, but also to get back at like the guy who's
Yeah.
maybe not the best.
She's not above using it to advance her goals.
She's not above using. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, she's kind of does something evil, but for the betterment
Yeah.
of good, I guess. I would say.
No, that
And
makes
so
total sense.
I think they kept that, and that worked. When I
Yeah.
saw that, I was like, "You're right." Like the whole like, I'm just gonna undo the
Yeah.
dishes. I was like, "Oh, that
Yeah.
was perfect."
Well,
Like,
that's
that really did it.
I guess, and that's part of the reason why I accept this as a spin-off of I Dream of Jeannie, because while it doesn't seem like it's, any of the same characters in any way, I don't really feel like this is the same Jeannie. Like, all the things that make I Dream of Jeannie work are still kind of there, just a little bit remixed Hanna-Barbera
Yes.
style.
Yeah, as opposed to
now-
like the Thing, where it was like nothing. None of that felt like the Fantastic Four whatsoever.
No, it didn't really, except when he said Yancey Street.
Yeah.
That was the only thing. So that's what worked. I think the thing that didn't work, I think we're going to have the same Oak of Arc. So why don't you say it?
Yeah.
What's your Oak of Arc, Steve?
So I've said it already that I think the voice actress robotic attempt to emulate Barbara Eden.
Okay.
But it's 4 letters and it's
Mhm.
Babu.
Babu.
Just
Yeah.
I could not stand that character.
Yep.
And he really doesn't. I see your note here. It's what he says that you're just like,
yabble
"Oh,
dabble.
God.
Yeah.
Yabble
Crazy.
dabble." And then it's just like, dude, stop.
Yeah.
Do you think they were trying to like push that as like a thing? Like,
I think that goes back to the formula, because it's like all of these
Formula,
shows have to have some. He's the Scooby Doo essentially. I mean, I guess you could argue that
Yeah.
Jeannie sort of also is the Scooby Doo, but like, he's the funky phantom. He's whatever. He's just he's that one character who's going to sort of be comic relief and have his little catchphrase.
Yeah.
But Yabble Dabble is annoying, and they also obviously Yabba Dabba Doo for Fred Flintstone is the most
that's
common
what I was thinking
example
too.
of that.
Yeah.
But even in Scooby and Scrappy, in the episodes where Scrappy is in the Old West with Yabadoo, Scooby's brother Yabadoo says
Yabadoo.
yibbity yibbity yabbity doo or something like that, and it's like, why does Yabba Dabba, like, why does that resonate so strongly within the halls of Hanna-Barbera? I don't know, but you could have deleted Babu entirely and nothing would have been missed, and this episode just would have been better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there was one scene with just Henry and Babu when they were skiing, and he wasn't even skiing; he was flying.
He was floating.
And then when he did ski, he like went through a tree, but like through it, like his body.
Yeah. But see, that should have been funny. That scene should have been funny, but it wasn't. It was just like
it wasn't.
Whatever.
It was not funny. So, yeah.
I don't know. That to me, again, usually I feel like they get it right. I mean, Jabberjaw is another example. Like, that should be annoying. His whole like yeah, which is another Three Stooge reference.
Yeah.
But this to me felt like, the kids will like this. Throw that in. You know.
Yeah. It's weird. I am torn on the fact that like there were really annoying things in this.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it, and I actually feel like it still was true to kind of I Dream of Jeannie. It really is.
And Hanna-Barbera. So
and
to me, this is like a shot.
That's
right
why we had those
middle.
annoying parts.
Right. I'm going to say 3 stars because it was harmless. It was kind of fun. Like, you know, the next episode started playing and I didn't go to turn it off. I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Let's do it. You know?
Yeah.
So I think 3 stars. 3? Okay.
3, because it's just, I didn't hate it, but I didn't really love it. And there's really nothing, even the good parts weren't really like, I was blown away. Like I kind of had to, it was very easy to figure out Okavark, but Ichiwawa, I was like, I really got to think of something. And then by the end of the episode, I was like, I did decide on like, Jeannie felt like Jeannie pretty much from the actual show.
Her Barbara Eden impression didn't stick out to me as much as it did you, though. I get it. And I just feel like the bottom line is this kind of show, Saturday morning, you're in and out of the living room, like refilling your cereal bowl. Maybe you miss a few minutes. You come back, you see what's going on. I mean, it's a perfectly right. It's a perfectly pleasant way to pass the time. So, you know. For that, I can't really knock it. Next time, we're going to be picking up a familiar story in the new Yoda Chronicles, Race for the Holocrons. Are you ready to be back?
I am.
Good.
I am, because it's the new Yoda Chronicles. They are... They did a great job on the last one, right? Then the Escape from the Jedi Temple, we loved that one, right?
I liked it.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked it. Yeah, I think I remember liking it. Hopefully, I did.
We'll see. We'll see if the good times last. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, the Race for Holocrons. I'll see you there. This Endorian Life is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Be sure to check out some of the other shows on the network, including 9021 Here We Go and previously on X-Men. Please rate, subscribe, and share these shows wherever you get your podcasts.
Yabble dabble.
Each one.